right there with the bezel is built.
All right, welcome back. I'm sure you are all thinking the same thing as a lot of people when I showed up to the range when you saw that first video. And that was, what is that? I got asked that over and over again. I had this thing in a holster. Well, what that is a slightly, I don't know, I don't want to say accurized, but slightly different LCP Max. You guys have seen one or two videos from me on this before, but as the clickbait title is alluding to, is that these things are dead for me. So I took it out to a match. I wanted to give it another try. Two different matches, actually. I took this one out because the first time I took it out, I had both of them. I have two of them. But the holster I had, I didn't realize this gun wouldn't fit in it with the dot. This is a Sig Romeo Zero, Galloway mount and Galloway trigger. This is kind of the souped up LCP. And then I shot the other one at it just so happened that it was raining cats and dogs that day. And so I thought, well, this will be a really good gun, a really good test of this gun, because I don't carry it very often. But if I did, and I live in the Seattle area, it rains here a lot, particularly this time of year. Like, how's this thing gonna react? And I don't want to give too much away, but it did not function well. So let's look at a few more stages. We'll come back, we'll look over the top of this one, and what I think is probably its successor or replacement, which is the Wilson combatized Wilson Combat version of the 365 in 380. So check out a few more stages, we'll come back. Okay, so here we are over the top of the guns. As you can see, they're both relatively the same size. I decided to pull out the iron-sighted version to give you a look at, to be more comparative with this guy. This is the LCP Max. This is a Galloway Precision trigger. That does make it a little bit, it makes the feel of the trigger better, but it doesn't really do much for overall shootability of the gun. It's just kind of, sure it has a better trigger, but the way this thing recoils, and there's just nowhere to really put your thumb out there. Like, my thumbs get so far out that they're kind of out past the edge of the muzzle there. And if that happens, you can see in some of those videos where it's like burning my thumbs, and I left with a big black mark on my thumb, so no good there. Both of these guns will fit in the box. This one has the longer base pad, because this is one that I use it for a carry, or for like a if I'm going somewhere and I forgot that I forgot my actual carry gun, I'll grab this little guy. It does have the capability to have the Go Guns gas pedal up front, which I appreciate on these little guns. 380 isn't much recoil to tame, but with that on there, it's significantly more shootable, especially in the 9mm version. So yeah, that's them. They do fit in the box. As you can see, that's easy. So if you're thinking about shooting this in bug, you absolutely can, and that is the larger magazine on there. This one is slightly too large with the extended base plate, but if you had the stock base plate, it'll fit in there just fine. You can even get an XL grip to fit in there. So those fit. That's the difference between the two. As you can see, there isn't a whole lot of difference in width. This one is a little wider because of the Wilson Combat grip module, but it's even closer to the same size with the stock magwell. So let's take a look at a few more stages, and we'll come back with the pros and cons.
Son of a bitch.
All right, so those are the stages. As you can see, 2 separate matches. One at the indoor match with the red dot where I had the right holster, and then the next at the rainy day match. None of those stages went particularly well. The red dot was that day was a little easier. At least there wasn't as many malfunctions. But I think it was the rain, but this LCP Max just choked up in the rain. So I don't know what else to say about it other than that made me really nervous for, to have that. Because originally the intention of these was for, an absolute like, oh crap, that's all I've got to carry with me. That's what I'll carry. Or my wife, she liked it, so I let her. I got another one for her to use. But now, like, I'm just not sure that I'm going to trust them. So in traditional fashion, let's start with the pros, and then we'll move on to the cons, and then a few final thoughts. First, the pros. It is smaller, but it's only slightly smaller, like you guys saw. Like it's not significantly smaller to make the determination for me that it's a smaller gun than the especially with that dot on it than the 365 and 380. You might as well have the 365 380. You can have the thumb rest if you want, like I've got. You can have the manual safety. It just seems like that's just a much more shootable option. Number 2, the Galway Precision Trigger. It's good. I think that if I were to keep these, I'd probably put Galway Precision Triggers in both of them. That it makes it just shootable enough. The trigger, not the gun itself, just good enough. The dot is whatever. That was kind of like I saw that come across my Instagram feed, and I was like, a dot on a LCP, like sign me up. So I bought that, and as you saw from some of those stages, the dot just confuses the hell out of me. But got to get better with that because that's the way the world is going. I think because I'm unpracticed with the dot, that I was faster with irons. I shot, as you saw, 2 matches. And I think that just by the nature of what I do all the time, I think I was more comfortable with the irons. The mag capacity is good. It's kind of, there's a 10 round mag and a 12 round mag, but it's about as long as the 365 380, and the 365 380 only gets 10. So Ruger, good on you for figuring out a way, and you get a whole hand on the grip with that magazine. So they found a way to get 12. So awesome. That's about it for pros. I don't have many. So getting right into the cons. The first one, it rusts. It rusts pretty quickly. So sort of my intention for the LCP in general was this is going to be, maybe a truck gun, or, like not like a truck gun, like, oh my God, there's terrible things going on, I need a gun now, but like the truck gun in the way that it's like, oh, I'll have this in a safe. I have a safe in some of my vehicles. It'll be there just in case I need to, I've forgotten everything else. I walked out the door, and here I'll throw the LCP in my pocket, and that way I've got something. So I've had the original LCP, I had the LCP2, and I still have an LCP2 in 22 long rifle, all of which did not rust. And they served the same purposes in the same places. I've lived in the same house, and I've had 2 different trucks, but, essentially lived the exact same throughout the time I've had all those guns. And the first ones didn't rust. And both the Maxes, I know it's rust, but it's just decoloration. It's just discolored the slide a bit. And some of the internal parts, like the barrel hood and other places, it turns brown like rust. And so like I was like unnerved by that. I emailed Ruger, and I was like, hey, what is different between, the LCP2 and the LCP Max? Has the finish changed? Did you do something different? And they said, nope, the finish is exactly the same. And they said, oh, you should rub it down with some oil, and if that doesn't work, let us know. And I'm like, all right, but I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. I wish I did. I personally think something's different. I don't know if they just don't want to say it or what, but I think something's different because it was almost immediate. Like I bought these two guns relatively close together, took them out, shot them at a match where it wasn't rainy. It was a normal day. Brought them back, put them in the safe with the rest of my guns, and they rusted, and the other guns didn't. The only other gun that I've had rust in that safe, now it's in this safe, was I don't know why I bought it, but I bought like $150 shotgun, and I put it in there, and it rusted almost immediately because it's cheap and shitty. So that makes me feel like the Ruger is also cheap and shitty. Anyway, moving on, number 2, recoil is definitely more cumbersome with that than with the Ruger, than with the 365 380. The 365 380, it's got a bulkier slide. I think that's why I think the slide absorbs a little bit more recoil. And the gun, just in general, I should have weighed them, but I didn't. Is just more heavy. It's just heavier. So it absorbs more of the recoil, and I think that so me shooting them, side by side or back to back, I can shoot more accurately and faster with the 365 380. Now, put that in the hands of somebody like my wife who doesn't shoot very often, and I got to give her every advantage that I can. So while it's easier for her to run around slightly, just maybe slightly easier for her to go for a run and stick an LCP Max in her fanny pack or whatever, the 365 380 is just going to be so much easier for her to shoot should she need to. 3, it's the same idea. The Max is the same idea as the 365 380, or just the 365, in that what we're doing here is making the stack and a half magazine. This is the SIG magazine. That's all they did from an LCP2. As far as I'm aware, I don't think that they upgraded any of the internals or did anything. I'm sure they had to change them for dimension, maybe. I don't know. But that's essentially what they did. And it's the same idea as the 365 380, just not done as well. So yeah. 4, when I shoot it, I'm like waiting on it to be done recoiling. I know that there's some people that say that about, they'll shoot different grain weights of bullets and be like, oh, I wait on 147s because the slide cycle is slower. I don't know that the slide is any slower on this thing, or maybe it's my recoil control. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm ready to, in my brain, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to shoot again, but the gun's not ready to shoot again. And I'm trying to get that thing back into the right position or whatever. And it just doesn't seem to recoil consistently or well in my hands. So that's about it for the cons. It's just not good enough. And I think that's only a slight deviation from where I was the last time that I shot one of these and reviewed it. Was, I think, the last time I thought it's just good enough, like just crosses the line into good enough to carry and shoot and be okay with it should I need to defend myself. And now I've just moved, 2 steps back over the line to it's just not good enough. When compared to the 365 380, that is essentially the same gun, but way easier to shoot. So kind of the overall here, the 365 380 is as small as I think I need to go. Should I want to, I've got a pocket holster, and the 365 380 will fit in my pocket if I'm wearing some, skinny jeans or some tight slacks that Heather put me in. Maybe not, but in that case, like, I'd have to find a different way to carry any gun. Like the 365 or the LCP Max wouldn't be any good for that either if the pants were that tight. I'm sure that's what y'all came here for, was to hear me talk about tight pants. Anyway, yeah. So I think I'm done with the Ruger LCP Max. I think I'm just gonna sell them and get rid of them and put that money towards another 365 380 for Heather and call it good. That's about all I got for you guys. Be on the lookout for more information about the Western Washington regional match that's coming up. Yeah, it's still a ways away, but registration is open now. I think the match is going to be in April sometime, so we got that going. Washington State Championship this year, 2024, July, the third weekend in July, same as it was last year. Yours truly, match director. Yeah, if you have the time, check out our website at www.dz-214.com, where you can donate to the veteran charities that we support. It's the day after Veterans Day today, but still a good thing to do. So if you have the time and the means, check it out, and we'll see you on the next video.